Okay. Uh, we have a topic called big objects. Yeah, big objects are pretty much thing means it is similar to our objects. You know that objects are in the Salesforce objects are these are account contacts. All those are called as a big object. Sorry, all those are called as objects. But big objects are pretty much different thing. When we have to store in a from us any external system, means it's not directly used in the Salesforce. Whenever we have a requirement that from an external system, we need to store millions of records into the Salesforce, and we need to also process on the millions of records on the Salesforce. At that time, we use the big objects. Big objects are it's a kind of objects. We create the fields. We create fields just like we create an object. We create an its field just like we are creating the custom fields. They're similar that we are also creating a custom big objects. They're pretty much similar. Nothing change in that. Means they are. You just have to come and create a new and then create a field. Let me show you. So the big objects are the pretty much similar to a objects, the custom object, but the important thing is that they have a larger capacity to store in it. We can store the millions of records in that objects, and we have also the thing is that it's usually used to whenever we have an requirement that we from a third party system, we need to import large amount of data into the Salesforce, and then we need to work on that data. Okay, whenever we have to work on a large amount of data, then we think about the big objects. Large amount of data is does not mean for the thousands or 10,000 or 1 lakh. It's about the millions, more than millions records are coming up from a Salesforce, and we are processing on the millions of records on the processing on the millions of records that is come from any different objects that is come from any different third party tool. So that time we will just make a connection between the Salesforce and our make a connection between the Salesforce and the third party tool, and then we do the export from that third party tool to the big objects, and then we will perform that all the activities over the big objects. As like so you can see, you can work it can be variable, means it can be used for anything, means it can be used on the Salesforce or Lightning. We can query the data, we can use the data, we can modify, we can manage the data, and only the thing is that we have only 100 big objects, means just like it's not like the custom objects that we can create so many custom objects, but we have only 100 big objects. And means when once you are reading about the analytics, then at that time you will think that it's working for the analytics but not for the report builder. You know that we can't create the reports on the big objects. Means big objects, we cannot create any report on the big objects. We just take their data for the for some purpose, but we can't create any report on the big object on the big objects. That's some limitations before considering to use a big object. Let me show you that how the big objects are creating. We are coming up here, and in the setup we write the big objects, and then come up here. Here you can see that it's asking it to new, and then you can see that this UI is pretty much similar to that what you have seen in the while creating the our while creating the object. So at that time you have seen that it is pretty much the similar UI, but a few things are missing, that we can't create that auto numbers here because it is not allowed, and we just create the only that thing, and then we hit the save. Okay, now it's got created. We just it's pretty much similar. We can create the fields, and whenever we have to do integrations or something like that, we just use the big objects and do the mapping, and complete the task that importing of the millions of records into the Salesforce. So that it's just an introduction that usually the big objects are used in the Apex, but you have to know that usually some At some places they ask about the big objects, so that's why. So big objects is just a thing that you uh, whenever we have a requirement, whenever we have an something that we need to import large amount of data into the Salesforce, then we take the help of a big objects. But at the same time, we have to few consider some limitations that we have. A most important limitation is that we can't use the big objects into the report build. Means we can't create reports on the big objects. So that's the important limitation. Apart from that, most of the time that big objects are used in the coding part, but you still we have a knowledge about that, why we are using the big objects. And that's the thing. And it is similar to that, how we are creating the custom objects, but few things are missing. Means while you are creating the custom objects, you can create the a lot of summary, but here you can't. You can create the master detail. We can here, as you see that we have an option, I need to create a master detail relationship. We can create the lookup relationship, and we have also few more fields that are unavailable. So that's okay, but it's a property of a big objects that some of the fields are not available. But it has only one advantage, that we can store a large amount of data, and it is more accessible. Means its performance is more good rather than the custom objects while processing on the large amount of data. So due to that thing, it was designed as a separate data by the Salesforce, because a few years back there is no object called big object. They just recently they introduced that concept of a big objects for only for that processing the large amount of records. Okay, so that's the thing. Let's move to the next one. App Exchange. So as an admin, usually we get a requirement. As an admin, we usually get a requirement to solve some issues, yeah, to provide some custom things to the custom things to our company, or as as a solution for a thing. Suppose we need to suppose bookstore management. In this bookstore management, while whenever the book is gets sold, we need to send what we can say, not here, not here, it's not good. So we need to send something, some sort of templates or some sort of email that the user has to be signed once he received, or something like that. Whenever we have to something do kind of signatures, just like DocuSign are using the thing. We are proposing the quote for a client, and that client has to be signed on that quote, and then return back to our sales team, or means return back to our team. So something like that. Whenever you have to do some custom thing, because designing a template and signature is just like a custom thing that is not available in the out of box Salesforce. So as an admin, whenever we got a requirement that is anything which is not available on the Salesforce, and we need to find some custom solution, at that time we don't have to go to for the custom solution. First we have to go to the App Exchange. So what we have to do, that we just have to go here and search for the App Exchange. We just have to go to the App Exchange and find any app from here that will solve your problem, or take a chat with that people that will help us to solve what is the problem is going on. Means, yeah, so first try to take first, whenever we have we have an mm, chance to solve something that we at that time we need to design. Means whenever we have a situation that we need to decide that if either we have to go custom or a standard out of box is not possible, we need to design a custom solution for that. So before going to the custom solution means using the Apex or Lightning components, these type of things. Before going to that, first take a visit on that App Exchange and find is there is any solution available up here or not. Might be because there are so many people are working on the problems, and they are solving the problems via designing the apps while designing the app, and that app is that app will pretty much helpful to solve the issues. So that's the thing. So so there is a place, means for that, where we find the app, there is a place called App Exchange. From App Exchange you can find your uh, app, and it is, you can see that there is a so much things are, means you can find the app related to finance, human resource, sales, marketing, any, means there are so many. Or just like this is a form stack. Suppose we have a requirement that user can fill up the means we are proposing a form. On that form we just customize everything. It got a linked with the Salesforce, and we just propose a form, an interactive form. It is a, you don't have to write any single piece of a code. You just have to drag and drop the things and just publish the format at the place. You just publish it, so it will, all the things get managed. That data will be automatically collected, and document generated, digital signatures, these all things are get automatically managed. Means whenever we have a such kind of requirement that we have to do some form data collection via form, and then automate the documents and do the digital signatures, just go up and install this app, and then it will help. That's the thing. And it will also, we have to consider the price because usually it will they will charge much. But you have to also consider, because if you have to just, as an admin, you have to just compare that what will be the development time and what will be the charge. Because to design such kind of thing, such kind of functionality by custom, might be take 400 hours, 500 hours. So that's the development time, and it will cost it will cost more than a lakh or something. More than, means it's might be cost, might be cost millions. So as a development, but you just have to pay $25 per month, and you can uh, take the same advantage. Just like it is also an app that will help us to manage our teams, that what are, who is working on which project, who is working on what project. It's these kind of things, task create. Similarly, we have so many app available up here in the App Exchange, that help to solve the issues by in a custom solution. So as an admin, whenever you have a requirement that it saying that you have to solve that situation in a custom solution. But before going to the custom solution, just take a look at the App Exchange, find an app that will help you to solve the solution. Because self is also talking that as an admin, you have to first visit the App Exchange and find some app that will solve their whatever be the business problem available up there. And at that time, you just have to just come up here, search for your issues, or talk with them. They will suggest you that which is the best app that way that you can take, and it will solve your issue. And then you have to you can just compare the prices, because single type of solution can be solved by the multiple companies. So same type of app is available, but their prices might be different. So you have to just compare the prices. And some of them might be, some of them are free, but here it's all are paid. Yeah. It's a free, uh, it's a free one. And it's doing something like that. We can see the hierarchy view. It's something like that. So uh, that's the thing that means you just have to click on get it now, and then you just to log in with your account, means your Salesforce account. And then it will let you the it will just let you install that app into that your Salesforce into their account. And once you install that app, it will come up here. uh, because these are the what are be the what are be the app available up here. They are called as managed packages. Yeah, the term, always remember that it is called as managed packages. So it comes up in a section called packages, and then you have to just click on the install packages. So all of them, any of the managed packages that are installed in your system, it show up here, managed or unmanaged both. Yeah, let's also you have to know that what is managed and unmanaged. So managed packages are those packages whose who which is something kind of privately secured. Means what is that? Which means that the company who's developed the managed packages is restricted to see any of their configuration or code, because nothing you can see in a managed packages. But in unmanaged packages, it's something like that, come contribute and build, something like that. So whatever the code and configuration that they are providing, it's something like that. You can just come up, and once you install the any unmanaged package, you will see up and you can make changes in their objects, their codes. It's but it will only affect to their own org, but not affect anyone else org. But it's some so the thing is that we have two kinds of packages. Something one is managed package, second is unmanaged package. Managed package is something like that, it's more private, means we can't see their codes, we can't make any changes in the code. Whenever you have faced any issues, you just have to go to the app exchange and file a report or do the comment, so talk with those guys, something like that you have to do. And in case of unmanaged package, if you face some issue, you can ask your developer to make changes. They can easily make changes and resolve the issues. So the thing is that whenever we install any package from here, these all are called as the packages. So whenever we just click on the get it now, and let me first install it so you can pretty much familiar with this, how we are installing how we are using App Exchange into our app. Let me sign in. Asking for that in which org because my two org are related to this, so I'm just installing in this because that one is my developer org and that is my Trello account. So I can also, if you are working in a real-time environment, you can see that install in a sandbox also come up here. You can choose the sandbox, because but as an admin, while we are working in a actual situation, you got the sandbox out, not the production out. So you have to just test everything in your sandbox, so that you are make your managers too comfortable that, hey, I've tested it in the sandbox and that app is look like something like that, and easily you can easily just demonstrate that how it's working everything. So since we don't have any sandboxes, so I'm installing in a production, and production is pretty much similar to our developer account. So I'm just using my Trello account for installing. Just click on hit install. Just free subscription. Now asking me to log in. Let me log in. Now it comes to a point that where we need to install and that app for which user. So install for admin, it will install for system admin profile, install for all user, means it will install for all profile, or install for a specific profile. So the profiles that are available up here can have only those profile have to which I install that, only those profile can have the access. Apart from that, none of the profile can have the access. So I'm just installing it for admin. So system admin can have the access. Apart from that, none of the users can have the access to this package. Yeah. You can also see the what are the package components. It contains Aura component and 4 classes. Still installing. Yeah, you can see now it's come up here, and yeah, you can see that which the publisher and what is all those things are available up here. That what it says that means it's come under the install packages, and you just click up here and see what's the components are present in the packages. You can see the components, but you can't make any changes in the component. You can just see the component. Whenever you try to open the component, it will say that it belongs to managed packages, so you can't make any changes in the component. So that's okay, but I'm just demonstrating that how we are checking that managed packages, or how we are installing an app from a managed package, sorry, an app from an app exchange, and how we are managing. So it's pretty much something like this. And then since it is come up here, so how we are going to this app? So for that, we need to just again go back to app exchange and see is there is a documentation present up over there now.
Suraj, can you change the access conditions after?
No, no. I mean, from now I can't change. I've just that's okay. Means I have to just I need to reinstall and install that.
Okay, yes.
From now that's okay. Uh, give me a moment. Let me check. Might be. I give for only system admin. Let's for the standard. No, there is nothing re-permission to those things. For giving the re-permission, you need to just reinstall that. This app was designed by us. So that. You can see how it's the app is working. So you need to see that how the app is working. So for that, I just coming up here. Yeah. Now how we are going to use the app? It's only present on the documentation that it's showing that you need to just go to the you need to go to the Lightning App Builder and drag and drop the our this hierarchy iFly hierarchy view into your into your detail page, and it's working fine. And once you add the into that, you have to just set up that these field values, hierarchy fields, and which components you need to see, and then that's it. So let me do that. And yeah. So let me go to the And then let's edit the edit page. Here you just have to edit the page, so you can find that here custom and manage section. You will find there we have a custom component called, and then I just have to click and drag and drop it here. There I did. Now it's asking for the confirmation name. On which object your account? What is other is billing address. Yeah, no, just like billing city. Okay. Yeah, it's, you can add up here, and then we just hit save. Oh, sorry, I forgot that parent. Parent ID. Actually, this component was designed to say see that a hierarchy relationship means parent to parent to parent to parent. What will be the grandparent? You can see the relationship of that. All the relationship you can see up here. That parent to parent to parent. So since it is only one, there is no parent account. So that's why let's add a parent account. So it will show up there. So once we visit up here, edge communication. Now you can see that it is a edge communication has child this, and if that one is at some other child, so it will show up here, something like that. Okay, so that's the thing, that how we are seeing, that means how we are installing a managed package into the Salesforce app, and how we are just configuring that managed package. So it's just a small example that how we are installing the managed packages from App Exchange. The point is that it's to be make that only the thing is that whenever we have a solution, so whenever we have to design a solution, which is the custom solution, and so before going to a custom solution means before writing a piece of a code, just first think twice and go to the App Exchange and try to find out an app that will solve the issue, that will solve your business solution. Might be we'll find a free app, might be we'll find a paid app. Just compare the paid app with the development efforts. Usually it will might be the you just have to pay $5 per month, and its development effort is too much, so might be you have to just $5 per month, and you can use at limit, means it's just like a $60 per year, so it's not a big investment instead of developing in a custom solution. So whenever we have a such type of requirement, so as an admin, your duty is also to solve in a without writing a piece of a code. So your duty is also to don't write a piece of a code, just go to the go to the app exchange, find an app, and whenever you find that app, just use that app in install and test that app, show your manager that hey, I found that app, it is something like that. Or do talk with their customer support, might be they will provide some solutions, some kind of that. If you will not get your proper solution from the app exchange, then you have to just, only one thing is remaining, that you have to go to the custom solution. Means you need to talk to your developer that how much time it will take, and what will be the effort, that kind of things. But that is the totally last option. First you have to just try to solve the business solution via admin level. Means you have to just, without writing a code, you have to just solve everything at the admin level. And if you are not able to solve, if there is no possibility comes up, then you go to the app exchange. And if it is not also not able to solve, or price is too high, or the thing that they are providing, it is not matching exactly what we are needed. Means might be this situation also comes up, that the thing that they are providing and our requirement is 50% same or 60% same, but they are providing many more other things, but we don't need that, or they are not providing the things that we are needing. So it's just a compromise or something like that. We just have to talk with the manager, hey, I found something that we can compromise with that or no, or we can move for the next. Or you can also the talk with that company who developed that app. So is there is a possibility that they can design any app for you for your consideration. Means what you are want, that they can make changes in their app, so that you just use their app for your business goals. So that kind of also thing. Because usually because this as I know, because we have published this app, and users comes up that the point that what we need to means they need the enhancement, that some of them come up. Because previously when we built this app, so we don't have we didn't provide any links over up there. Means it is just a thing that you just have to it's just like a tree view. You just click and open the see all the parent means all the hierarchy relationship of the parent of the account at the same place. But some have come up here that saying that hey, how can we means I just want to click on that name and it will redirect to that account. So we just implemented that functionality, that whenever you click on the name, it will redirect to that account, and it will get highlighted over up here too. Means and you can see what is the its parent account and what is its child. All those things you can get it from there. So these things we just got a feedback. Means whenever, because it is currently used in so many, so many places. So these things we got, means they comes, means whenever they find some such a app and want some customization that did not meet their requirement, they come back to us. Means as an admin, their job is to come back to and ask that hey, if we can make any such kind of changes or no. And if we make that changes, then they are good, they are using that app. If not, they might be sent talk to their developer and solve it in a custom way. So these kind of things that they that we are getting from the app exchange. And next okay, go, we are editing. Okay, governor limits. Okay, governor limits. So while working in the Salesforce, since it's in
Yeah, actually, I forgot at this topic. So
okay, no issue. While working in the Salesforce, since it is a multi-tenant environment, yeah, I had already told her that it is working in a multi-tenant environment, right? So multi-tenant environment, you already know that multi-tenancy means everyone has to share a resource. Means there is no separate resource available for a person. They need to share that resource, just like in an apartment you have to share that water supply, or you have to share the gas supply. Yeah, something like that. So the multi-tenancy, the same thing is that since we need to share that resources, so Salesforce put a limit over there, that you can't use that resource for a very long time, or for something like that. You can't use that resource too much, means you just have to limit over that. So whatever the services provided by the Salesforce, each and every services, they provide a limit over there, that you can't, just like in the on the objects, you can see on the objects, not here, just like in get me go to the classic view. Okay, you can on the, sorry, uh, open any custom objects. Yeah, standard is good for custom objects, just like. Yeah, just like you can see that on the objects we have limitation, that how many roll-up summaries we can create, how many custom relationship we can create. Hmm. We have a limit that we can create only 500 fields for an object. We can't create so many fields in an object. We just have to limit that we can create only 500 fields in an object. Or how many workflows are active related to the, how many approval process limits, the active lookup filters. These all things are come up here, and these all things are come up here, and we are using this thing, means it's a kind of a limit, that these all of the limit are comes under the topic, under one topic called governor limit. So let's me search for the governor limits in Salesforce, because yeah, here you can find out that all the limits that are available up into the Salesforce, means the what are the limits that they are providing, that how many queries, how many things that we create, and everything, means every limits are available up here, there, because there is no one or two limits, there are so many limits available in the Salesforce. So you can just check up and find out that how many limits are available. Means numbers are important, means usually we face the issue with the numbers, that hey, we can process only that much amount of data, apart from that we can't process. So there are so many limits, the SOAP limits, cursor limits, metadata limits. Yep, there are so many limits, SQL, Visual Force limits. Usually, means while you are working, you will know the limits that what the Salesforce is providing, and but you, and in order to check that, but you have you can come up here the governor limits section, and you can check the limits, what the limits are Salesforce is providing. There are so many, means at every step that we are working on the Salesforce, there is a limit on that. Means we can't use so many things while working on the Salesforce. We can't create so many objects, we can't create so many lookups, we can create so many fields, we can't send so many emails. There is a per day email limits also, I think it's a 5,000. We can't there is a create so many workflows for an object. We can't create so many process builder related for an object. There's everything, there is a limit on that. Okay, so there is a always there is a limit on the Salesforce, and that limits are comes in the kernel limits. And why they are providing the limits? Because of their multi-tenancy, because they are sharing the resource for each and every means whoever in the Salesforce, they are sharing the same resource. So whenever there is a resource sharing, that's why they provide the limits over there, so that any user does not come up and take all of the resource, and other users are leave as a means they are not able to take the advantage of that resource. So that's why they put the limit, that maximum at max you can use that much, apart from that you can't use anything. So that's why they put a limit. But usually whenever we are working in a production, or when we are working as a big company, we reach to that limit. Means in a normal condition we reach to that limit. So At that time, whenever we reach to that limit, so might be as an admin you got a problem that, hey, we reach at this limit, what we need to do. So you need to have to just talk to the self support guys. They will take the money they will take some amount of money and increase your limit. But not every limits are increasable, but some of the limits they can, while facing the issue, means if you talk with the self support guys, means ad admin, might be you got such a situation that you are facing the limit issue, that at that time you just have to talk with the self guy. Might be there is some there is a something that they can do for you. They will enhance the limit, but they are charging too much for that. So usually that whenever we are building that, we need to, whenever we are building and working in the self first, we need to follow the limits, because it's a very important thing. and and not every limit can be removable. That's also the thing, that with some of the limits can, they can make they can, that was a purchasable, user can purchase and enhance the limit, but not all the limits. But yes, Selfos is working in the limits, and that is only due to that the resources that is present for the Selfos, it's shareable resource, and it does not allow a single person to use all of the resource. That's why they put the limit over there. Okay, so that is the thing. Any questions till now? If no, then okay, then we will
Is
come
there
back after.
availability to upgrade the Salesforce? For example, as you said, 500 fields in an object, and if I upgrade the Salesforce, can I do that?
No, you can't do that because
Okay.
that limit was not upgradable. They just
Okay.
put some of the limits, only just API limits, just like Salesforce. Sorry, system overview. System overview is a place that we can see that what is our total org, means what is the overview of an org. So you can see up here, and that it can, there is a API request, means it is a request that that is contributing in every 24 hours. You can see, means I can make 1500 15,000 requests in a 24 hours. So that kind of means whenever we are making whenever we are what we can say, that whenever Salesforce is accessing from outside the Salesforce, means from a third party tool, it will making a request to the Salesforce. That request is countable, means they are counting that request in 24 hours, how many requests are made in that to that Salesforce. So what is that things, that whenever this is happening, it's counting, and sometimes it's reached up to the limit. So that limit is configurable, because you can ask with the Salesforce, they will enhance this limit. Means if you are, suppose you have a more than 15,000 user, yeah, you might be reach up to the thing that your company has more than 50,000 user, and for a particular day, all the user just make a request in the Salesforce, because we are using any third party system, and all the user, if they make the request to the Salesforce and it's reached it to that limit, and that if that limit is reached, then we have an option that we can enhance that. We can talk with the Salesforce guy, they will enhance this limit, but they charge. But not all the limits are enhanceable, because we can't increase the what we can say, that we can't increase the uh, custom object size limit, that it's not, they're not allowing that. So every limit is not enhanceable, but yeah, you can if, and it is not, and also it is not working for the developer account, it's only work for the production account also. So you can just go and talk with that person to enhance the limit. They will not enhance. It's not working for that developer account, it's only work for the production account. means that the person who are really working on that. So that's the thing. That is also an important thing, because you can't enhance any limit on the developer account. They will not hear you. And they will ignore your email. Any questions? And the thing is that system overview, and system overview is used to view all the objects and that we are creating, and at some place it is just a overview of what we are seeing and working on. That suppose that what are the custom objects and custom setting, total custom objects, custom metadata types and usage, data storage, rules, Apex triggers, Apex classes, how many code that I have created. Means there is, you can see there is 6 lakh characters I can write in Apex classes. If I reach to that point, it will again come into the limit that we can't create so many. We can't write too many things in the classes. That is, there is also limit over there. Means each and every place there is a limit. And flows, custom tags, all those things you can see up there. So that's the thing. Any more questions? No. So we come back after 10 minutes. Okay. Bye.
You are mute. Okay. मुझे लगा. Okay.
Okay.
Oops.
I think everyone comes back. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Next topic is themes and branding. Themes and branding will continue by Priya. Priya will.
Yeah. Okay.
Rest.
Let me share my screen. And can you stop your screen? Okay, so I think my screen is visible to you, right?
Yes.
So whenever we're talking about themes and branding, so simply we all know, like we all use themes in our laptops and our phones, so we are familiar with the theme and branding. Sometime in Salesforce also provide us features like, yeah, we can customize our logo, and we can customize our theme according to our company or organization. So whenever we want to customize our theme or logo, we can do it in Salesforce also. So and Salesforce also provides some standard themes and brands, so we can also use them. Otherwise, if we want to use our own, so we can customize them. So simply, if we are talking about the themes, so it's all about the looks. Like here we can see the blue background, right? So this is the background, and here you can see the logo. So we can customize all these things. We can change the logo, we can change the background color, we can change this icon color. So how we can do all these things? So this is the branding and this is the theme. So let's go. What we have to do, obviously we have go to the setup and just go to the setup in home tab as usual. Search for the theme and branding. Okay, so whenever we're searching for the theme and branding, we can get the options like theme and branding, but we just have to hit here. We have already some themes and branding which are provided by the Salesforce. You can see here, and I want to tell you one thing. For a single time, we can activate our, like we can say, we can apply only one theme for a time. We cannot apply multiple themes and branding. So if we here you can see one themes is activate. So whenever we want to use any one, so it's automatically deactivated, and we have to it's means we have to activate this, like which one we want to use, we have to activate, and then it's get deactivated. So we can apply only one themes for a single time. And if we are talking about like how many themes we can create, so we can create 300 custom themes. Remember, we solved the question. Okay, so we can create 300 custom themes and apply only one for a time. So if you want to change, you can go to here. You just click over here, and you can see we have three options: view, activate, and preview. Before activate, you can check like okay, how the things look like. So before activating, you can just click on preview and check the things like how it's look like. So whenever you want to see, you can just click on preview, so, and you can see the changes. Okay, so you can see the background, and if you want to see some others, so you can see the changes of backgrounds, right? So this is this whenever we just change the theme, it changes the background color, and it's by it's a by default logo, so it will not change. It just change the background colors and all thing. We can also change the avatar. So let's go and see how we can create and customize our own themes and branding. So for creating a new one, just go to the new theme, hit the button, and what we have to do, we have just give the name. So I'm just gonna give okay. And if you want to give any description, you can put over here. So great. Now we can change the logo. So what we have to do, if you want to change the logo, you can change from here. You have just click the box, and you can choose the pictures what you want to, like you can choose the logo what you want to say save, and you can also change the color from here. And what you do more, you can change the page background color from here, and also we can set the background image. We can change the group avatar. We can use a group banner. You can like we can set the image for this group banner. We can also change the user profile avatar. You can see for now we have this picture. It is showing this picture. If you want to change this, you can also change this, and you can also obviously you can also change the profile banner. So let's do all thing one by one. First, we are going to upload a image for our logo. So it will change whenever we upload any new pic. So we can see the new pic here. Okay, then let's go and text. to me. Okay, so CI fly setting and it's not taking full pictures. We have to set like we have to crop the image and all things. So I'm not setting the things. I'm just showing the things like how it's works. So we can upload picture from here, and we if you want to change the color, you can change the color from here. Like if you change select the color and click on done, so you can change the color. And use brand image on lightning experience loading page. And yeah, means you if you want to use this on whenever you load the page, you can also click this checkbox. And now about the background, like you can see the background here, so you can change the background. So and if you want to change the color, you can also change the color. And if you want to change the image, you can also change the image. So if you want to change the color, so simply just go to here and select any color and done. If you set the if you want to set the header, you can also set the header. And for header we are going to take light and now we are going to upload a background image. So again, just click on upload and okay, and save it. So whenever we click on save, our background has been changed. For now we are we can see this background, but whenever we hit the save, we can see this image in the background. And if you want to change the group author, so you can change from here, but I'm not going to change the group author. Yeah, we can change the profile. If you want to set the profile image, you can change from here. And you can also change the banner. So for banner, just select this one. And for avatar, you can choose. Okay. So this is the way like how we can set the image of avatar, how we can set the logo, how we can set the image color. So we have done all thing. And yeah, okay, just save it. After saving, we have to activate it, otherwise you can preview the things. So you can preview the things. Okay, so you can see the changes. Means the logo is here, the header color is here, background is here. And you can also change the image of avatar. So this is the way, like whenever you want to customize your logo and you want to customize your theme in your org, you want to set your color according to you, so you want to set the pictures according to you, so you can do it using theme and branding. So let's activate it. So here you can see whenever we loading the page, also showing our logo. So these are the changes, like what we can customize here. So we can customize our headers, our logo, our background image, our profile image. And if you go to your profile, So why it's not taking me on my profile? It's some issues here. So means this is the way like how we can set the things like our background image and all things. So I hope you will understand like how we can customize the things. So this is the way whenever we want to customize the things like we apply our own changes. So we have what we have to do is just go to the theme and branding and just uh, if you want to apply any standard, then you can choose, and if you want to customize, then you will just go to the new theme and customize your thing. And remember, we can create 300 custom themes, and we for a single time we just apply only one. Okay.
Priya, can we also see the lightning page? Still applies the lightning page, right? This customization, theme and branding.
Lightning page.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Okay. So whenever we change the things, we can see in our own or all like we can see in all everywhere. Like here you can also see the things like we sing our logo here and the header color here and the background image here. So if we apply the things, we each apply everywhere in our org. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, then so that you can
Okay, thanks.
continue. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, now we are going to start. Now we are going to start some developer basics. Then we will move to the developers. So for the developer, we have a console on which the developer will do the coding and all those things and check their logs and everything. Means we talk about everything about the developer. Means the developer console is a very powerful tool made available by the Salesforce for the developers to do the coding and do the stuff, all the stuff related to a coding and all the stuff related to that processing. Everything is available up there in the developer console. Let's have a look at how it looks like and let yourself to be familiar with the developer console. So let's open that. Yeah, from the setting, you can see there is a call developer console. There is an option called developer. You have to click on that. It will get open. Okay, once we are into the developer console, it will show something like this. Something like this view, it will open. We have a menu bar, we have a status bar. These two things are available up here. And from the menu, just like from a file menu, we can create a new, just like what we have learned that in a file, means in file menu always have an option that we have to do two to three things. Either we can create a new, open the existing, or close the window. These three things we know that in any of the file menu contains the same thing also available up here. Either we create any new components or open any existing components or save or close the components. So, in the same thing, we have an edit menu. Edit menu just to find and replace and all those things. The important thing, we have an option called debug menu. Debug menu is for that only for the debugging purpose. Means whenever we have to such issue that debugging, you have familiar with the word. I think you are familiar with the word called debugging. So whenever we have to debugging means whenever we have an issue and we need to solve that issue and we need to check that how the code is working. So these things are come in the debugging. So whenever we are working on the any issue that and we need to solve it, or some piece of code that we need to make a run and then execute that piece of a code and check what is happening in that piece of a code. At that time we come into that debug menu, and that here we have a execute anonymous window where we can run any piece of a code from directly from up here. We can just write code and check that how it's working. We can just come up and copy paste the code and just check. It's actually the execute anonymous window is just to think that you need to if you need to some check some piece of the code how it's working, you just you can do that here. Means it's a simpler thing. You just come up and do the what how the things are working. Just come up here, just like I need to check that I need to print something. So suppose I need to print something in my just like we have learned in the developer that if you need to print something that we need to just put means whatever with the language you are familiar. If you are familiar with the Java language, you know that system.out.print. If you are familiar with the C, that we have a print statement. If you are familiar with the Python, we have a what is that? I think also it has a print statement. So similarly, suppose I need to just run a small piece of a code to check that how it's working. I'm just showing that how the anonymous window, because it's a very powerful tool and it's always be helpful. Means it's a tool that a developer always needs. So that's the thing. So just like the other languages, we are declaring the variables. Okay, and suppose I need to print take a check that how it's how to run and execute code from an anonymous window. So I'm just in that I'm just putting a debug is just like a similar, as I told that it is a similar thing that we have done in our previous languages, that debug is to print the particular statement in a log. Okay, in order to check that how which means where we at and what is the value of a something in, if we need to check that value, or we need, if we need to check that is our code is running properly or not, something like that. Whenever we have to check that what is going on, we need to use the system.debug for that. So let's check, we can put the comment over there, something like that, value of I is, and just put the, we will talk about it. Means right now I'm just checking, I am telling that how we use the execute anonymous window. That is the important thing, that's why I'm just talking about. Okay, suppose this is execute anonymous window. I just declare integer whose value is 100 and just I just put a log up here. Now here we have seen the three buttons. One is called open log, execute, and execute highlighted. Open log means whenever the code is, this code is executed, the log will get open. So first we know that what is log. Log is the thing that whenever the code is executed or whenever anything is running into the Salesforce via Apex, so it goes into the process. Means our resources come into the active, means whatever the Salesforce resources are come into the active, and which code is working, how the which code is fired first, which code fire is lost, and what is the time stamp, how much time taken by that piece of a code. All those things means any single piece that is working behind the scene for that particular piece of a code, it comes into the log section. So it's a thing that, so whenever the code is executed, are you want to automatically open the log or it should manually get open? So that's the thing. If we click on that and I execute this thing, it will, once the execute is finished, sorry, in teacher I just INTEG, okay, I missed this spelling. So whenever I execute this piece of code, it will get open and log will get open and I can see all the details. Yeah, you can see that all the details showing up here, and when it started execution, when the execution is started, when the statement executed, all those things means, everything you can see up here. And if I put any debugs, so it shows that the debugs up here, then value of I is 100. You can see. So the log reading is a very important thing while working on a Apex code. So you have to, once you start working on the code, you will get familiar with that thing. And as soon as get you familiar, it's very easy to you solve your issues. It will be more easy to you to find that why the code is not working and how let's be worked. So these kind of things, whenever if you are able to learn that how to see the logs, then you are able to solve the issues. Yeah, you can average, because everything is mentioned that when the execution is started, then variable scope begin. You know that the scope is the thing that in which variables existence is persist. So that's the thing. When the scope is beginning, when the statement is executed, when after the statement is, when there is a variable assignment takes place. So you can see that variable scope and variable assignment, there is these much things are goes on in between that. And then after the assignments, then we have logs. Before that log means you can check means only for executing these two lines, Selphos perform these much of operation only for these two lines. And after that, once the operation finished, it will conclude that how many queries performed, how many rows, how many DML statement, how many published, means all those a conclusion. It also show up here. If we make any things that is related to that, means suppose if I make a SQL query, then it will show count as a one. We will learn about that. Right now we're just discussing about that how the execute anonymous is working. So execute anonymous working is something like that. We need to have three options. Open a log. When if you click on that and hit the execute, once the code will execute finish, it will open the log. After that we have an execute highlighted that suppose we have so many lines of code. Okay, suppose we have three lines of code, but I need to execute only this two line. I need to make I need to see changes or how these two lines are working. So at that time, what I will do, I will just select these two lines and click on execute highlighted. So what it will do, it will execute only those two lines. Apart from that, line number one will not get executed. You can see that it is started from the variable I declaration. And if I come up here and hit on execute, it will execute all those three lines. You can see that it start from the declaration of a test string. Here you can't see that declaration of a test string, but here you can see that the declaration of a test string, because what I have done, I just make the declaration means I just make that to run as a execute all, and regardless to the execute highlighted. So that's the thing, how we are using the execute anonymous window in our future classes, or in our during our debugs or during our testing. That this in this way we are using that we have three options are available. Either we open the log or close the log, means while after the execution. And we have execute method and execute highlighted. Execute method, what it will do, it will just execute all of the line at a time, means it will execute these all the line at a time. And execute highlighted, what it will do, it will just uh, execute the only highlighted section. Apart from that, it will not execute any other section. Apart from that, we have a logs is a very important thing. You have to know that how the log reading is a good thing. If you are able to grasp that how the log is coming up, then you are easily to solve that issues that you are facing during your development. Because if you know that how the code is working, then that is a way it solves your 80% of effort to debug the issue, if you know that how the code is working. So if you're able to read out the logs, then it's make it easy. Means always whenever you do anything, just go and check what's the log and what is happening in the log. If you write a single piece of a code, just execute that code and then check, go to the what is happening in the log. So slowly make it that in a, since if you want to be a developer, so you have to make that in your habit, that you have to read the logs, because log reading is a very important thing, and it should be start at the beginning of when you start the coding. So whenever you are just making any changes, just go and check the logs, what is happening in the logs, how the code is working, when the variable assignment takes place. Okay, everything you can come up there. And in the whenever we are seeing the means logs are coming up here, and you can also see this is a log tab in which you can see all the logs, means whatever the logs are generated, you can see up here. Okay, and there is some filter available up here. This frame, it's only for that what we have I can right now I can demonstrate that how it's working on. Later on we can see up there. Second thing is only executable lines will be, you can see only executable lines. If you want to see only executable lines, means when the code is started and when the code is finished, something like that, means only we can see the executable lines at that time. Or if you want to see only the debug, means what are the debug logs that you have pasted, what will be the system debug statement you have put in your code. It's only want to see that statement, you just have to click on debug. It will show only debugs only. And then if you want to filter the on the basis of something, suppose I need to filter to see changes on the test, so it will show only the changes on the test. So these are three things that are available up here that help us to filterize the logs, because logs are an important thing. And if you want to tackle on the some particular thing, we can just do the filter, we can just do only the see the logs, we can see the only executable items. That's the thing, that's the information we can get from the logs. And we can also see the limits, what were the limits that are getting up from the while performing that code, what are the limits we are hitting up, that we also can see up from the logs. Apart from that, this is the execute last. Execute last is an option that whatever we have written up here and hit the execute, so it comes into the execute last. So suppose I select these two lines and hit execute highlighted, so that piece of a thing already comes into the execute last. Whenever I hit the execute last, it will do the same thing what we have done in this one. So there is no changes, you can see that there is no changes. So it's for the it's just something like that quick view. Okay, and it's about that thing that switch perspective. You will later, I will discuss more about that. Right now if I explain, it might be you will not get that what I'm point I'm making sure here, point I'm saying up here. So some of the few points I'm just discussing that before going into the developer session, you have to just make yourself to familiar with some of the things. So you have to make familiar with the execute anonymous window. We have to make familiar with the execute last, and you have to make familiar with what we are going to be do with that file menu. Means we can create new Apex classes, Visual Force component, Lightning application, Lightning component. These all things we are able to create from up here. We can also open any existing components, means open any existing triggers, pages, page components, objects, static records. Suppose I need to open any objects, I just double click on it, I can see that all the object fields available up here. Okay, that I can see up here. And apart from that, I can also use the open resources. Open resources help us to find that tag available in all of the resources. Suppose I read the account, it will show that only account is available at so many places, not only account brand share. Means it help us to find that particular text in throughout the org. So for that, if you are not sure that about the tag that we are what we are searching, then at that time we are use the open resource. Open resource is help us to find that tag throughout the org. So it will help us to find that object. Means it will also finding the same thing. Finding the same thing in the from the belong those are belongs from these all seven sections. They are searching from this all seven sections, but The thing is that it helps us to search at the same time. It will search for the all of them. Here you can do the searching, but the thing is that it will search for the only objects or so, or only search for only pages, only something like that. It's a quite more filterable search, and it's kind of some more general search. And when we hit the double click on it, it will open that particular thing on the screen. And then it's for the open the lightning resources. If you want to open a lightning resources, once we are working, we will take a look at it. And apart from that, yeah, we will while we are working, we will take a look at it how these things are working. Right now you just have to know that how to open the things, how to open an object. So just like that, I just whenever you need to open an object, just click on the open, go to the objects, and just like I open the account, just double click on, suppose I just let me close this and let me close all of the, okay, and let me open a account. Okay, account. Okay, double click on it and it's get open. Now you can see that all the fields, custom and standard fields, are showing up here that you can use for the further processing or help us to see that what is the API name. Because during the development, the label, you forget about the label. There is no work with the label. Only API name is important for you. So while working as a developer, as an admin, label is important, but as a developer, API name is important. So whenever we try to open object in a developer console, it's open and it shows all the field API name over up here. And the important thing is that our second tab, which is the query editor, we are not talking about these things right now. Once we get more familiar with that coding, then we will come up here that how we use these things in our development. But first we note that query editors, we discuss about the tabs. There is a log tab in which it will show all the logs that is executing, means, and then we have a query editor tab. Query editor tab is used to see the records which are present in the Salesforce. Means it will help us to build the SQL queries, and also help us to check the SQL queries, and also help us to build the queries, and helps to see the records present in the Salesforce. Just like I want to see all the name, all the ID and name of a contact. So what I will do, sorry, all the name and ID of a account. So what I will do, I will just select the field ID, and then I will select the field name. Suppose I want to select the type, and then I hit the query. Okay, and then I will hit the execute. So what it will do, it will show all the account name and type via my query. It will let me show up here. Similarly, if you want to see some more fields, suppose I want to see billing city, billing state, postal code, and all those things, and then I will hit the query. You can see the query editor also get changing, and once it changes, once you hit the execute, it will show all the details that are that comes as an output from that query. This query is called SQL query. Okay, SQL query. We are doing SQL query on the account object, so it's a kind of SQL query. Here we are building an SQL query, and from execute we are running this SQL query to see what's the output for that SQL query. So once we are executing an SQL query, there are a few points you have to know that while executing a SQL query. If after you execute SQL query, you will see there is some 4 buttons available up here: save row, insert row, delete row, refresh grid. Save rows means suppose I make changes, I can directly make changes in here. Austin, dev console. Okay, when I can hit the save rows, and it get saved into that what I get it will get saved into that particular record. Yeah, and we have an insert row. If I click on that, a row got inserted, and I just can add the values, and it will get inserted into the cell first. Let me add. and I hit the save rows. Okay, it got inserted in the cell first. Whenever the record, one more thing, whenever the any record get inserted in the cell first, its ID automatically get generated. For a developer, ID is a very important thing because it helps us to identify that particular record throughout the development process. So ID is a very important thing. So for a developer, ID is a very important thing. And what I'm showing demonstrated, you have to click on the insert row and you can insert a new record from a developer console too. Suppose I need to delete this record. So I just select that record and hit the delete. It got, it's asking for me to delete one row. We can select multiple rows at a time. That's also no issue. And hit it got deleted from the Salesforce. And then we have a refresh grid. Refresh grid is the thing is that suppose I'm working in the developer console, but in the backend, let me open some. Suppose in the backend, someone comes up here and not other one any and change the what's the field that we are querying. Your name and type. Yeah, customer direct. I'm changing the customer direct to any customer channel. So for the edge communication, someone has changed the customer direct to customer channel. And here, if I look for the edge communication, it's still showing the customer direct. So for in order to refresh this data, what I will do, I will click on the refresh grid. So if I click on the refresh grid, you can see that the new data will get populated. So it will help. So refresh grid, what it will do that it will help us to refresh that what will be the output from that query. Yeah, you build the query via going to the account object. You open the account object. You build a query. Once the query is built, we come up here and seeing that yeah, query is built and now if you want, someone has make changes. So if you want to see that changes happening, so just have to click the refresh grid and all the records get updated with the new value. Okay. Apart from that, this is another thing that you can see that access in Salesforce, which means that whenever I hit the button, it will redirect me to Salesforce page, not from here. It will redirect me to the Salesforce page. Suppose I will hit create new, it will redirect me to Salesforce to create a new account record. Since I'm in Classic, that's why let me switch to the Lightning. Now, if I come up here and hits the create new, it will show. Okay, you can see I can able to create a new account record. Similarly, open detail page. For that, I need to select any of the account record and hit the open detail page. It will redirect me to its detail page. Okay. And last is that edit page. Similar, if you select it and hit the edit page, it will redirect me to that edit page of that account. So these, whenever we are doing the execute command from here to run a query, so whenever you are doing that execute command, it will give me some option. Apart from that details that we fetch up from the Salesforce, there are few more options are available up here, that save rows, insert row, delete rows, refresh grid, create new, open detail page, and edit page. These options are available that help us to work with the data and make directly changes on the data. And just like we can save the whatever the changes made, we can update the row, I can insert we can delete any account, we can, if any changes made, we can refresh. And if I want to make the changes from the into the Salesforce, then we can use these three buttons. Either create the record from there, either open that record, or open the detail page from that record, or edit that record, do something like that. Apart from that, if I look into that query editor, it shows me that what are the objects that I selected and hit the query button, it's showing up here, and that's okay. And suppose and also you can see that it's in an editable mode. So suppose if someone make the mistake, suppose I did and hit the execute button, it shows the error. So the second pattern, second screen means below the query editor, there is a second screen. It will showing the error, what are the error we are facing. during the building of the query. Okay.
Suraj, this insert row, like, does it check for like mandatory fields or that kind of stuff, or?
Yeah, it will also check for the mandatory fields.
So it doesn't work different than UI. If there is something gives an error in UI, it will give error here also when we are.
Yeah. If it's some error, if you're facing from the UI, it will also give the error here also. But it will not for the there is an exception also there. It will not for the, suppose on the page layout I make some of the fields are required field, so it will not work for the required field. It will work for the at the database level. Means while creating the field, if I make some field are required, at that time it will, and that field value is not populated from here, then after at that time it will throw error. If any field made required from the page layout, that will not valid from here. It will not work for that. So that kind of error means might be facing. Suppose if I make any field required from here, so just like account name is required for every time. So if I suppose I hit insert a new row and will only type customer Java. Now it shows me error that name is not required, field is missing name. It's showing me that error. So it's the same thing, just like we are filling up the either we are doing up from here or this doing up from the here. It's the same thing, but the difference is that if we make any field required on the page layout, always remember we can make the field required from the two places. Once from the object level, while creating the fields we can make it required. Other we can on the page layout we can make the field required. So from those two places we can make the field required. But if we make the field required on the page layout, that validation will not work up here. Means only database level, means while creating the field, if we make any required, then only that will work. Apart from that, suppose I had created any validation rule, it will work at both places. Any process builder or workflow rule, if you are created, it will work for the both places. But only the thing is, exception is that for the page layout, if we make anything page layout, suppose I make the field on the page layout I make some of the field only read only, but still we can edit that field from up here.
Okay. So object level required directly connects to the database, but page level doesn't mark it as like required field on the database.
Okay, so any more questions? That is a pretty much small overview of a developer console that we are going to going to use further. Means we can right now we just discuss about that how we work on the queries. Okay, that's the important thing, that how we open an object and work on that object via developer console. So while working on the object, we need to also understand that how we are building a query. So that's the thing.
Suraj, going back to the logs, let's say, yeah, and then there are like several the lines to read through for the event, as far as I know, yeah, event. So that goes as much as that, many lines, or it could go like, hundreds of lines. Do you have to sort out and review all those things to understand or to find the problem as far as the debug, concerned? How do we read these, or if there is some kind of like highlights if there's a problem? How do we work this out, this event, when we read the logs?
While we are reading logs, we have to first thing is that comes to mind that that I show up here, that where we put our user debug. Okay, so for that, filtering is the most important one. That usually while we are debugging, that we have to filter the where we put our logs. So that filtering is the important one. Means means whenever you are working, someone is working on the logs, they might be get confused because there are so many things are coming up there, heap allocated, that this is nothing to do with that. Yeah, so we can also means either we just do the filtering up here, or suppose I don't want to see the heap allocated in my logs. Yeah, suppose I don't want to see that heap allocation in my logs. So what I will do, I will just come up here, and there's an option called change log levels. Okay, in that change log level, I will create a new log, and in that log, let me, sorry, yeah, here, general traces for, yeah, it's only for the classes, that's why. Okay, you can see there is a default value. Let me add one more log, custom log. Okay, suppose I want to see only changes in my Apex code, nothing I want to see. So I don't want to see any other thing will be come up here. So I will just make the this to find, or debug is finding, and I will, apart from that, I will just make everything to be none. So if I choose this kind of log, so it will show only Apex changes, nothing it will be shown up here. Means we can we can control what we can see. Yeah, now let me make it, I think it's a default one, custom log. Okay, then now let me execute that statement. Now you can see only the Apex code statement is populating up here.
See, yeah.
Yeah. So we can control what we can see. That's the thing is, yeah, I know that is pretty much a thing that we can hard to read, but we can control what we want to see. Suppose I want to see only database changes. So what I will do, I will just go and change the log level, and then I will, where is my this? So I will come up here, and that's my custom log. I will make it info. So I will also see the database in the, since I haven't make any changes in the database, so it will it doesn't make any sense. But in this way we can change it. That's the thing I can pointing you. We can change, sorry, we can change the things, but since we haven't make any changes in the database, means we are not doing any commit, so that's why it's not showing up here. But yeah, we can change the debug levels, means we can change, we can make the logs to at that level what we want to see. Okay, okay, what we, in which perspective we want to see. If you want to only see the Apex coding, then we can choose the Apex. If you want to see Apex and something else, then we can choose something like that. So this way we can adjust the log according to ourselves. Any more questions? Okay, then we are good for now. And if you are means belongs to some developer background or something like that, try to just refresh your something anything you can read out, and how the declaration are takes place in Java or C or any place. So it will let you understand more easy, because how the declaration are present, how the, everything's are come up there. So it will be easy to you to understand the things.
And Suraj, like since we are starting the development part, is it possible, like you, whenever you are doing something, give us some time to repeat whatever you are doing? Because whenever we are only watching, especially in development, like I think it will be